And let's bring in former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who is also a Fox News contributor and author of the book Never Give an Inch. So Putin making plenty of news, Mr. Secretary, that Valdai discussion club. As Greg pointed out, Putin saying that this is the most dangerous decade since the end of World War II, also saying he has no regrets about invading Ukraine and accusing the West of inciting the war. Unpack what he's saying here.
Well, John, it's great to be with you. My sense is this is not too dissimilar from what we've seen Putin do before. The worse the facts get on the ground, the more he blusters, the more he dissembles, the more he puts forth propaganda. I think it's important first to acknowledge that Ukraine is not planning to use a dirty bomb, right? Your reporter said it was unsupported. It's not only unsupported, it's certainly not true. The folks who have threatened to use nuclear weapons are, of course, him. And when he says he thinks this is the most dangerous decade in front of us, that's because of him. That's because of the actions he took, an aggressive war. He wasn't at risk in Moscow. There haven't been any attacks into Moscow to date. This is Vladimir Putin's aggressive action against Europe. He is bringing this upon himself. And when he begins to talk in this way, I think it suggests he is further cornered and knows that his option set is becoming more and more limited by the day.
So Ukraine is insisting that it has no plans to set off a dirty bomb. At this Valdai discussion forum, Putin said he has no intentions of setting off a dirty bomb either. So, but by warning about this, and for the first time, he picked up the warnings himself today. What's his game here? Is he trying to escalate? Is he trying to set a pretext for potentially using a tactical nuclear weapon in Ukraine?
John, it could be either. I think the latter is more likely. You'll recall months ago, as this kicked off in the spring, Putin did kind of the same thing. Well, he would talk about the Ukrainians attacking cities and schools and using missiles, and then, in fact, he turned around and did exactly that. He was the one killing civilians. So this kind of tactic, using the bluster, trying to obfuscate what's really taking happen, is straight out of the Russian playbook, whether that's Kadyrov and the Chechens or the Wagner Group, the private army that he's got in the field now. This is pretty typical of the way the Russians conduct warfare. It's not surprising to me that he's trying to use his opportunity to speak on the world stage to make a claim about his adversaries that is what it is, that actually reflects what he is contemplating doing.
I want to turn, if I could, Mr. Secretary, to China and some new information regarding Hunter Biden's business dealings with the Chinese entity CEFC. Senators Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson have sent a letter to the U.S. Attorney in Delaware who's investigating Hunter Biden, David Weiss, suggesting that the DOJ and Weiss are kind of slow-walking this investigation. They provided him with 200 pages of Hunter Biden's bank records, saying, quote, "Today, in light of your and the DOJ's failure to respond to our legitimate congressional oversight request, and as part of our ongoing congressional investigation, we are transmitting to you over 200 pages of records relating to the Biden family's connections to the Chinese regime and persons connected to its military and intelligence elements." They claim that they've got these bank records that show that there are business dealings between Hudson West 3, which was one of Hunter Biden's business entities, and CEFC, which is now run by the Chinese Communist Party. What do you make of this? Do you believe that there was malfeasance in Hunter Biden's business dealings? And more importantly, do you believe there was any involvement on the part of President Joe Biden?
Well, the DOJ has got to get to the bottom of this. The fact that members of Congress, frankly, members of Congress in the minority party, are sending documents to DOJ that it sounds like they may not have had, suggests that they are not at all investigating what is a potential serious counterintelligence failure. The CEFC, the company that you mentioned, is a Chinese-operated, Chinese-controlled Communist Party-controlled entity. And to the extent that the President of the United States' son was engaged in a business activity with them requires a lot of hard questions be asked, not only of Hunter Biden himself, but the president too. Anybody who may have been around it, I haven't seen these letters, I haven't seen these documents, but if there's connectivity to the president, he needs to be asked what the heck was going on. We've seen this, John. We have seen the Chinese Communist Party conduct espionage inside the United States. We know that they went after at least one congressman. Last week, DOJ unsealed a handful of indictments of what they're doing here inside the country. The fact that they may have been trying to influence someone who was running for president or someone who has now become the president is a serious allegation. Senators Grassley and Johnson are serious men who have been working on this for a long time. And the fact that they now have documents to show it means the Department of Justice has to take on that responsibility. I've seen no evidence that they'll do that except when it's the other party. I hope they'll actually do their job. It's outrageous that they've not.
We will see what, if anything, Weiss and the DOJ do about this. Mr. Secretary, it was good to catch up with you. Thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.